Corners and linebackers, come on down. You are the free agent positions we are previewing today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big shout out, thank you, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase.
Joe, happy Friday to you. Happy last Friday before the league calendar year for the NFL. League calendar year opens on Wednesday.
Yeah. You think there's going to be some weird news dumps today? Like,
yes,
slam in some stuff Friday afternoon, 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and it seems like every afternoon there's kind of like the flurry of stuff that got done that day that comes out. I'd expect today's probably the most intense day of that because then you're rolling into the weekend.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind. You can do your dirty business today. People will talk less about it.
And then, did you see what the Browns did with Jedrick Wills' contract, by the way?
It's created like $10 million in some space.
Yeah, so they took his fifth-year option and they converted it to a signing bonus and then put a void year on the back end of it.
Literally didn't know you can do that.
Neither did I. And that's kind of the fun thing about like void years as a whole, as this relatively new phenomenon, right? This is what, the last like four or 5 years, it feels like it's kind of become a thing. You're figuring out all of the scenarios where like listeners ask you, what happens if this happens? And you're like, that's a good question. Let's find out. And then they're like, it happens one time. And then like you internalize that one. But then every time you think that you're all caught up on like, this is how it works, there's something like this that's like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So
right. Thought it was firm. Couldn't do anything with it. Hard number. All right. Well, if you're willing to do void years, it doesn't have to be. All right. Cool.
Do you think that I had Locked On Dolphins listeners ask me this the other day. What do you think the viability is long-term with void years? Do you think there's eventually going to be some pushback for the degree in which you are manipulating, I guess, the initial integrity of the salary cap?
I was listening to Jim Manos on a radio call on WGR. Jim Manos was a scout with the Eagles and Saints. He was a player personnel director for the Bills. Had a long NFL front office career. He was asked about the cap manipulation and not only void years, but the willingness that we've seen over the last couple of years for teams to take on dead cap, right? It's kind of been unprecedented what teams have done with dead cap space that they're willing to take on. And he said he believes it's because the cap keeps going up. And so because the cap keeps going up, some teams are using that on players, but a lot of them are using it as this opportunity to get out of some stuff and feel better about it. So I think as long as the cap keeps going up and teams have more resources, I think they're going to continue to be willing to pull a lot of different levers.
Yeah. And I guess I'm just curious from a collective bargaining standpoint. You know, when the NFL and the NFLPA sit back down and do the next CBA, is there going to be any kind of like what's the downside? Who would have the pushback on? I
don't think either one. I think it's fine for the players and it's fine for the teams.
Because it's fine for the players because
they can get the money.
Continue to get paid, and it's fine for the teams because you can continue to skirt around the cap and have a more competitive team for longer.
Especially for the vets, right? The guys that are just year to year looking for that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million bucks. Some teams don't just have that hard cap to give you, but if we can structure it to push the money into void years, well, you can get your money and we can get you as a player. I'm not sure anybody really loses. And so I don't really feel like this stuff is going to go away.
And then there's the whole quarterback contract discussion with void years where what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts is structured. And If you got a little free time, just go over to Spot Tracker over the cap and check out
they're not, these quarterback deals are not all the same. They're just not, right? Like what Mahomes has done, what Josh Allen has done with the structure of those deals compared to some of these more recent ones, really different.
Yeah. And then
but you have to, the difference is you have to be willing to have the years on the deal, right? It was 10-year deal for Pat. It was 7 years for Josh on top of like 2 more years left on his rookie deal. Like that gives you, that length gives you the flexibility. Some of these teams don't want to give the player the length, and that's away from the flexibility they have with the contract.
Right. And even Pat's, when they restructured it the last time, I think his age 37 and age 38 season are voided years with like $160 million in cap. But it's like, okay, what's the cap going to be in 10 years? And if that's the price tag that you pay for what Kansas City is, it's a price that's so well worth it that you wouldn't bat an eye, even if it was like 20% of your cap was the dead money that was deferred after all this time.
That would be the biggest who cares in the history of the world.
Right.
It's already the biggest who cares. It doesn't matter what happens over the next 10 years. Who cares? Right?
Right.
Linebackers.
Let's do linebackers. Let's do it.
Patrick Queen.
Interesting class. Yeah. Free agency class. Lavonte David, top name. Think
Frankie
you agree?
Luvu. Yeah, Lavonte's the best player, no doubt. He's not going to get the most money, but he's the best player.
So as far as tiers, Lavonte David is in a tier of his own for me. The next tier down is Bobby Wagner and Patrick Queen.
Man, you're really in on Bobby Wagner still, huh?
Bobby can still go. He's not what he was. I also am not.
You'd rather have Bobby Wagner than Frankie Luvu?
Yeah, I think I would.
Like not just for right now, but like for the contract forecast.
Yeah, because Bobby Wagner's probably a comparable player on a 1-year deal for probably less money. So yeah, I think I would.
I'm good on where I stand there. Give me Frankie Luvu.
I like Frankie Luvu, but he's in tier 3 for me, along with Jordyn Brooks, Jordan Hicks, Josey Jewell, and Jerome Baker.
Azeez Al-Shaair has probably got to be close to that tier, I would guess.
He's the top of
tier. Okay, I'm like sitting there like, I'm right. Who did you miss?
Yeah. We already Drew Tranquil was in tier 3, but he's already off the board.
Good example.
That's a really good contract.
Yeah, that's a good example of a guy taking like a 1-year kind of small contract. Let me show you who I am. All right, here's 3 years. What was like $19 million? That's a good deal for Drew Tranquil.
Yeah.
Probably signals Willie Gay not coming back in Kansas City.
When you consider Bolton also there, Chanel also there, and now a strong commitment in Tranquil. Yeah, Gay's the outside looking in guy for that linebacker core.
Credit to them for like they had 4 linebackers, they used them all and got production. Like Spags is awesome.
I think there's a bit of a gap after all of the names that we've mentioned. You could probably include Eric Kendricks as like a bottom of tier 4 type of guy.
What about Blake Cashman? Are you?
I guess I've kind of written him off as coming back because the reports have been pretty consistent that they're trying to work something out with him.
And he's also one of those players where you feel like, I really like you for Houston.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just don't know what you'd be like somewhere else. Where'd you put Jerome Baker? You mentioned him yet?
Yeah, he's in tier 3.
Okay.
So it's David, Wagner, and Queen, and then a whole slew of guys that includes Jerome Baker.
I know nobody cares about this, but there are a ton of very good special teams linebackers in this mix, like proven. People should, but they don't. If you're looking for those 1 year, $2.5, $3 million, very good special teams linebackers, they're all over the place. Jordyn Brooks is one of them. For example, there's a lot. I could spend a lot of time on this, but you can find some good special teams.
Keep going. Tyrell Dodson.
He would fit that to an extent. Since you asked for it, my list of free agent linebackers: Jordyn Brooks, Jordyn Brooks, Delshon Phillips, Eric Wilson from the Packers, Troy Dye, Vikings, Marcus Bailey, Bengals, Neville Hewitt from the Texans, Matthew Adams of the Browns, Christian Welch from the Packers, Justin Sternard from the Broncos, Cam Brown from the Broncos, Zeke Turner from the Cardinals. Like, if you want that special teams ace linebacker that has a legit NFL resume of doing it, I think I just gave you 10 names.
I wanted to ask you about one more guy, but we'll get to him in just a minute.
All right, we're going to get to this one more guy and APY. This is where it's going to get really fun because I think Patrick Queen is going to get some money. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you could still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year. From the date of the first 3% match, must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer.
Do you know who I want to ask you about?
No clue.
Former first-round pick.
Oh, Devin White?
Devin White.
We've done the show. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's
Go
changed.
back to last, what was it?
May.
May something?
It was May.
Here's what's, well, this hasn't changed, but I will reaffirm that $100 million contract that my guy thought he was getting.
It's not happening.
Is it the Will Smith, the meme where he walks in the room and he's just looking around?
Yeah.
Devin White for that $100 million contract.
Will
I look silly. Will I look silly if he does get that? But it ain't going to happen.
The highest contract that's going to get paid out.
Hold on.
Yes.
Are the Vikings going to sign Devin White? Is this a Brian Flores, just like shoot a gap player?
Is Landon Roberts on the market or no?
No. Wait, Landon Roberts.
I think he signed a 2-year deal in Pittsburgh.
I think he's digging his time in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think that's kind of a thing now. Devin White.
Yeah, Roberts is under contract for $3.5 million.
Oh, but he's already got Ivan Pace that could throw
Flo will
double down on it.
Yeah, all the zero blitz stuff, and that's what Devin White did best at LSU, right?
I'm not asking him to cover or like process the run,
right.
But I'll shoot an A gap, baby. We can go.
Right.
But wait, I think he had like a big sackless streak. I don't know. We got to get off Devin White. There's better things to talk about.
I'm sorry for tanking the show.
No.
The player who was going to get the highest total value of contract is going to be Patrick Queen, right?
Yeah, no question. No question.
Took the big leap once Roquan Smith started playing next to him. I think that's the thing that's maybe a little bit scary about the proposition of paying Patrick Queen is like he really shined when he wasn't the guy in the room.
How much of that, the big talking point with Patrick Queen coming out was he had like 11 starts, right, at LSU.
Yeah. It's totally fair to say that he's grown into being the player that he is.
Yeah, ideally he's got a running mate. I think that's important. That would be helpful.
What he did, Edmonds got
18
on the dot, 18.
Foye Olakun got 15, and I think there's some parallels that you can draw there. I think the floor is 15.
Okay.
Which is a big jump because Foye Olakun at 15, number 6 is Devondre Campbell at 10. Like, that's a pretty big jump.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's an accurate floor to set for Queen.
Yeah.
Especially as we've talked about, and we've talked about for probably, 2 or 3 years now, one of the consistent themes of the better linebacker or better defenses in the league is you got a couple of athletic linebackers that can really go, right? And it helps your middle of the field spacing. And we've talked about the too high stuff yesterday with safeties. So I think that will help boost the market for Queen, which makes the next question, who gets the next highest total value contract?
I love this conversation, Kyle. We have 6 linebackers in the NFL right now, true off-ball linebackers that are making $10 million or more a season. Roquan Smith, Fred Warner, Tremaine Edmonds, C.J. Mosley, Foye Olakun, Devondre Campbell. That's it. So anybody
Campbell's a cut candidate in Green Bay,
right,
too.
We might be down to 5 very quickly. Well, Patrick Queen will bump that back up to 6. So when you bring up that question, like who's the next biggest one, I think you start to ask yourself, all right, are they going to touch this $10 million threshold?
I think they will with the cap growth. But I don't think they're going to touch 15. I think you're going to create a upper middle class of linebacker contracts.
Lavonte David's been the best bargain linebacker going, right? Like why he hasn't gotten 10 before. Why would that be different on this deal?
It wouldn't. And
so he's not going to get it.
He's probably going to sign to stay in Tampa for $7 million, but they're going to put stipulated money in, and the base is going to be 4, and it's going to be the best contract in the face of the planet, which is what he did last year.
Spielberger has Frankie Luvu at $10 million AAV, and he nailed Kevin Dotson. He nailed Ezra Cleveland. Nailed them. Those projections.
What's he have for Jordyn Brooks?
12.
I think Brooks is the next highest.
You're in on Brooks a little bit, I can tell.
He's kind of come on the last 2 years.
He's played a lot of snaps. He's only 26.
Yep.
Are you hoping for Jordyn Brooks? Is that
No. I hope they don't spend a linebacker at all. Like, give me Al-Shaair for $5 million a year or something like that. Give me 2 years, $10 million. Like a lot of the better linebacker contracts are the 2 or 3 year deals.
Yeah.
That are 7, right? You think about the contracts. We love talking about the contracts that Cincinnati gave out to the linebackers.
Right.
Miami got David Long for 2 for 11.
That's a good point. Logan Wilson didn't get north of 10, man.
Right.
But Brooks and Luvu will.
Because they're going to hit the open market. And the cap's up $30 million. So from a percentage of cap perspective at the time of signing, it's more proportionate to be the same percentage, but because the cap is so much higher in such a short amount of time, I do think those 2 guys probably do crack it. I mean, Luvu's got big time pressure ability too.
Yeah. His last 2 seasons has been really fun for Carolina. Like lost in everything that's been happening with Carolina has been the emergence of Frankie Luvu as a really quality starting linebacker.
I would agree with you now. We've got enough of the sample size.
Yeah, I know you were holding the water there a little bit, but 2 years and he did it again.
Yep. I guess the only thing we didn't talk about was like the lower class of like starting experienced players that are
Jordan Hicks of the world.
Well, I think Hicks is. I wouldn't bat an eye if I had Hicks as a starter. You all right?
Bro, I think we may have a bird flew into this window here in the middle of the show.
I thought you stepped on a frog.
I'm sitting in a chair, brother. I didn't step on any frogs, man. A bird just slammed into this window. Unbelievable.
The names I had in mind were Kenneth Murray, Cody Barton, Nicholas Morrow.
Cody Barton, we can't go to war. We can't do that. Can't do that.
I'm just saying that those are starting experienced linebackers that in case of emergency.
Yeah.
For low value contracts, I think you could break glass and sign if you needed to. If you were a team like Philadelphia with Howie Roseman, who just never gave
some of these,
about linebackers.
Some of these guys are going to Philly.
Right?
No
doubt about Philly.
It. Yeah.
There you go.
All right, let's leave a big chunk of time. We're going to get to corners, talk about the class, the APY here in just a moment, so be sure to stick with us. Folks, you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Well, you don't have to because Game Time is here, and it's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets, lowest prices, all-in prices, a view from your seat, a best price guarantee. I mean, simply put, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The app is awesome, super easy to navigate. They give you flash deals. So check it out. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
You know, it's been messing with me the last 2 days. We've made a big deal about the bumper, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm sitting here like late to click on the overlay when the bumper's playing because the whole thing that we got with feedback from Ross was wait till the bumper's over.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
And all I got to do is click it while it's playing to put the overlay on. And I'm like, oh, wait, I got to do it before it stops. You're doing a nice job, Joe.
Thanks, man. Corners, Jalen Johnson just signed $19 million a season, which is fun. I mean, some of the top names here with Snead and Johnson, right? Those are the two best names. They're tagged and extended.
Yeah. Yep.
Which gets you like who's CB1? Kendall Fuller, that's the best guy in the market.
Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Xavier Howard as a cut. Steven Nelson had a really good year last year.
Steven Nelson just quietly has a good year every year, and then he never signs a long-term deal with anybody.
Right.
He's 31, but like for the last 5 years, he's legitimately just been signed to some random team, had a great season, and then goes somewhere else.
So I'll tell you my top 5.
Okay.
Stephon Gilmore, Xavier Howard, Steven Nelson, Chidobe Awuzie, Kendall Fuller are all behind Kenny Moore.
Kenny Moore. Yeah. Slot.
Yeah. So Kenny Moore as a separate conversation, far and away the best corner available in my mind.
Yeah.
And you could probably, although Kenny Moore, I don't think that market's going to be dried up. So I think it's interesting contrasting some of the outside corners that might get 1-year deals at reduced rates relative to top of market. Who'd be more expensive, Kenny Moore or as a nickel, who maybe you'd sign on a multi-year contract, or Xavier Howard, who you might sign on a 1-year deal?
Yeah, it's different. They give you completely different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to shout out a bargain bin guy. If there's a player that I'd like to take a little swing on, it's Kristian Fulton from the Tennessee Titans, who, I mean, I thought his first 2-3 seasons were really good. This past season, things fell off, just like everything in Tennessee, particularly on the defensive side of the football. But like, if you can get him on he's 25. You get him on like a 1-year. Spielberger has him 1 year, $3 million. That seems like a heck of a dart to throw for a guy that has his skill, that has had his level of performance at a young age in the NFL, or maybe circumstances got in the way of him being the best version of himself this year. Man, that's a guy I'd love to try out.
Yeah. I'd go Akello Witherspoon, who played well. I know we shouted him out yesterday when we talked about the safety class, but I don't know how much of a economic, like he's trying to cash in on a good season, so he's probably not going to be the buy low opportunity that Kristian Fulton is. But that's a player who's bounced around a lot, and I think had himself a really nice season. Go ahead.
I don't want to forget about Adoree Jackson in this group.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a great year this year, and I think, if my understanding is correct, they planned on putting him in the slot. And then that lasted 2 games, and he goes back to outside and just never had a great season. But another guy that has plenty of tenure that you could point to where he played well. He's 28 years old. I mean, 1 or 2 year deal, $5-6 million per. I think you can get an answer at corner.
How about a cut that's out on the market that you and I both really liked last year?
Oh, Isaiah Oliver?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, go get him.
So he had an outstanding year the year prior before signing a multi-year deal in San Francisco, and they cut him after 1 year. I mean, if that's a $3 million a year player, I'd absolutely love to bring him in and have him compete in my DB room.
I feel dirty not mentioning Trey White. I don't know what you can count on the guy. I mean, over the last 3 years, he's had an ACL tear, and he's coming off of an Achilles this year. He's 29. Like, all of that's concerning. But for 5 years prior to that, man, dude was a baller.
I guess this position's not kind. once this stuff starts happening.
I know he was already kind of like an average athlete. He has no, to me, safety just, if you're going to play him as a center fielder, one high maybe, but the tackling's not there, I'd be nervous about it. But Trey White's one of my favorite players. It's out there. APY?
Lavonte Maddox and Keyshawn Nixon, a couple nickel options.
Yeah,
special teams contributions.
Tavir Thomas is out there as a nickel. You said Keyshawn Jackson. It's Keyshawn Nixon. Excuse me.
Keyshawn Johnson, I think, was a wide receiver for the Jets.
Yeah. Thought I heard about him before. Give him the damn ball, right? Something like that.
Right.
Is there going to be is there a lot of needle movers here? Like, you have, I mean, you have 16 corners in the NFL right now making north of 10. Is there a $10 million a year corner here?
Stephon Gilmore's coming off of $10 million last season in Dallas, I think.
Kendall Fuller at 29. Spielberger projects $13.3 million for Fuller.
I think Fuller's the one who has the best chance because it's the best combination of not yet at his age wall and played well last year. Yeah,
you know what's I feel like Washington fans have like dogged Fuller for a bunch of years. Every time I watch the Commanders, every time I watch him on tape, I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I've never had more of a disconnect between like kind of what the buzz is based on social media, candidly, and like what I actually see. It's like good player.
No, I think if we thought harder about that, we could find
he's
other examples, but it's a front row center example of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't think these vets looking on 1-year deals, I don't think they get there.
Kenny Moore, the projection there is 6.75 per.
Every team in the league should want to sign that contract.
Yeah, he's
2-year, $13.5 million.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Entering his age 30 season, he just turned 30 in January. His birthday is January 1st, so that's a fun fact on Kenny Moore. I didn't realize this. Kenny Moore started his career with the Patriots.
Yeah, out of what small school did he come from?
Valdosta State.
Valdosta State, yeah.
Wait a minute. Did Bill let him out the door? So he was a UDFA in 2017. Mm-hmm. He was there through camp.
Yep.
And he didn't make the team.
And then signed with
Indy.
Yeah.
Off waivers. That's an all-timer right there.
Could you imagine if they got Kenny Moore too?
Kyle Crabbs.
They do it every year. It's the only position this team can develop with any consistency, or could develop with any consistency.
2 years later, he signs 4 years, $36 million with the Colts.
He's a baller.
He's absolutely a baller.
Kenny Moore's one of my favorite players in the league, regardless of position. And I'm glad we're giving him his flowers right now.
I didn't realize that this was part of Bill Belichick's black eye resume. I'm always looking for things to add to it, Kyle.
Well, I got good news for you.
Kenny Moore, put him on the list.
Kenny Moore, add him to the list. And Kenny played outside a little bit this past year too.
Yeah,
when they were in base, he played outside.
It's kind of rough situation. I think with the way that the Colts thought their corners were going to go in April, very different to what played out there at corner.
Right. So I out of all the corners available, Kenny Moore would be the one I would want to sign the most.
Yeah, if you need a slot. If I need an outside guy, I want Kendall Fuller. If I need an inside guy, it's Kenny Moore.
Yep.
Pretty lean group.
I was just getting ready to say, I don't really love a lot of the class.
Yeah.
A little bit of flowers to Sean Murphy-Bunting, I guess, is another physical, pretty good tackler. That's going to be available. Some inside-outside flexibility there. Rock Ya-Sin.
Maybe Tampa might have kept the wrong corners.
No comment. Jordan Lewis. You're into your 1 year, $2.5 million players, or somewhere in that strike zone, I think, with Rock Ya-Sin and Jordan Lewis and Michael Davis at this stage. I guess we should probably shout out the $16.5 million per year man, Josey Jackson. Does he land anywhere?
No, he's done. He's done, right? Who like some of these corners though, like they hang on forever, like Sharice Wright. Remember this guy?
Yeah.
Always playing, always getting roasted. There's these guys.
Who is that guy for your team?
For the Bills?
Yeah. Surely you have that guy that you
corner they
remember
couldn't
that's
quit.
Like, man, every time I'm watching you just get absolutely cooked.
Man, you're gonna put me on the spot here. You got your guy? Who's your guy?
I'm confirming the age window for the one that I want to. It's Will Allen.
That's your guy?
Yeah, he played early stage career in the Giants and was pretty good. Then he played his late stage career with the Dolphins for 5 years. And he was every time you watched the TV, he was on the ground. Now, granted, that was 2006 to 2011. So I didn't have the all-22. So maybe he's better than I remember. But
yeah, that's true. Got to have the all-22.
I said, dude, reception given up on 3rd and on 12 on a curl route. Who is it? Oh, it's Will Davis. He's on the ground again. Okay. Lost his footing.
I don't know, like maybe Justin Rogers is coming to mind for me. I'm having a hard time finding the name here, Kyle. Maybe Ron Brooks a little bit.
Sleep on it.
I will on Monday. It'll be the priority of my weekend is to give you this guy.
Certainly no free agency priority, just this.
No, yeah, this will be it.
That is going to do it for our free agency preview. Free agency officially opens on Wednesday, but technically opens on Monday.
Agreed to terms, Kyle. Agreed to terms.
Agreed to terms. Tentative. And you never know when somebody's going to pull an Anthony Barr.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. Or J.D. McKissick, Kyle Crabbs.
Yeah, that's right. Bills legend, J.D. McKissick, right?
Unbelievable career.
So all of 12 hours as a member of the Bills.
It's really special.
He changed his mind. So we will be previewing or overviewing last year's free agency class and the lessons from that on Monday, being mindful of the news that's going to start dropping on Monday afternoon. So you have that to look forward to. Enjoy the weekend. Come back and see us. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We're Locked On NFL Scouting. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Make it a good one.